Welcome to Discovering Grayslake, a podcast dedicated to the stories and people that make our town truly unique. Join us as we sit down with local business owners, community leaders, and everyday residents to hear their tales of triumph, struggle, and everything in between. From the little-known historical gems to current events shaping our community, we'll cover it, all in an engaging and informative way. I'm your host, David Wool, and together we'll discover the heart and soul of our town, one story at a time. Today's podcast is brought to you by the lovely folks at Keller Williams North Shore West at the Sinkmars Group. Motivated not by numbers, but by helping you feel at home in our community. Jody Sinkmars and her team are committed to serving Grayslake and its neighbors with the utmost care. Call Jody today at 847-767-7358 or visit the Sinkmars Group online at sinkmarsgroup.com to get started on the path for the home you love right now. This podcast is also brought to you by the Cashmore Financial Group. Financial advice for everyday people. Turn your financial stress into financial success. Call us today, 847-231-6150. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Discovering Grayslake. This is the first call that we're going to do, and we had to do it via Zoom here, so we're recording, so I apologize if there's any fallout for audio quality. A couple of you people listening possibly know this young lady that I get to look at right now, which is kind of fun. We'd like to welcome Joyce Campbell.
Hi, everybody. I miss you all.
And we all miss you. All right, so where are you?
I am in North Phoenix, Arizona. I've been here for a couple of years. I've got another at least year to go. House sitting my son's absolutely gorgeous house with a private pool. So I'm really suffering in my retirement.
Yeah, you look pretty miserable right now. Yeah, I feel bad for you.
Thank you.
All right, so I want to start this like this because I if you're from Grayslake and you have never heard of Joyce Campbell, then I don't know what the heck you've been doing. But so I talked to a couple of people before we started the podcast because I wanted to find out what some people thought of you. So I got off the phone with Mike Pruitt this morning. And he described, he was laughing and he kind of fumbled over his words a little bit. And he said, if I had to explain Joyce, I would say she's a mix of Peter Pan and Mary Poppins.
Wow. That's quite honorable. Thank you.
And I think the reason he said that is because I don't think everybody knows how giving you are and how hospitable you are to, especially when you're Grayslake, to everyone in the community.
Well, then I would describe Mike as the Pied Piper.
All right. I like that. So tell me, since we're on the Pruitt thing, why don't you tell me how you met Mike and kind of how your guys' relationship and what you were involved together with?
I don't remember what year Mike and 4 other people opened the Vine, but about 9 months after they opened, I finally went there. It was just a tapas and wine bar at that point, wine and martini. And I don't drink, so, it wasn't real attractive to me, but my friends dragged me over there. And that was the first time that I met a man with such a huge vision for the future, for his future and for the future of Grayslake. I knew his mother because she was a trustee on Grayslake board, and lovely lady. Meeting Mike was pretty cool. In the meantime, I had this dream to build a teen center that started in 2003. The dream did. And I started talking to people in the village. I talked to his mom and another one of the trustees. I talked to then Mayor Carey, to then Police Chief Larry Herzog. I talked with Fire Chief. I talked with the Park District, and I was hoping someone along the line would say, that's a great idea, we're going to do it. I really had no intention of doing it myself until nobody else wanted to do it. First thing I did was work with local attorney Jack Rickman and set up a 501c3, opened a bank account with $20, and I started to talk to groups. Somewhere in there, I was really getting to know Mike. So I started raising money. At one point, we had $20.01 because I said every penny I raise is going to go into that account. And someone gave me a penny, and I walked it right over to State Bank of the Lakes and deposited. For the next couple of years, it was just straight begging. And money follows money. So once people started donating, other people started donating. And when I reached $100,000 in the bank, I went to the village and said, obviously the community wants this to happen. I have $100,000. Can you help me? The village board in their master plan was anticipating moving or assisting in moving the park district from 151 Holly over to where they are now, back behind the pig. I don't know if it's a pig anymore. And that took about a year. And then they gave me the keys to the building because they were going to demolish it for more parking. So they figured I couldn't do anything worse than that.
The backstory on that building, too, that building was originally like the police station and then the park district, right?
For that, it was a factory.
Huh?
I think they made violin or guitar strings, something like that. Building was, there was the original building, which was the front, and then there was an add-on in the 60s, which was the rear. But we started to rehab the building, which cost almost $400,000, but we didn't pay any of that. It was all done by armies of volunteers, from my friends, electricians, the Montoris, who I met because they volunteered, to a dear departed commercial rehabber, John Stykes, Jimmy Stykes' dad. And all these people came in at the end of their day, at the end of their workday, and often worked right through the night and went to work the next day, demolishing and rebuilding that building.
Wow.
Along with that, I became friends. And Mike has an eye for events, and I love a good party. So we started putting together things I knew nothing about: car shows, golf outings, 5K runs, motorcycle runs. All of these things I was ignorant about. However, between Mike, Ryan Curtis, Greg Henkin, who was in charge of music, Ryan is the one who kept me in a financial strait with spreadsheets, which I also don't know how to do, and literally hundreds and hundreds of people, things started to evolve and money started to come hand over fist. And we were able to open the Oasis in 2008 to the public. Because Mike took all our fundraising efforts to an unheard of level, we were able to run an $80,000 budget every year and never had to charge kids to come in.
Wow.
At one point, it was discovered that we had a group of boys that always stayed until 9 o'clock when we closed. We found out they were in foster situations. So I reached members of the community, and they started bringing us cases of frozen sandwiches every time they went to Sam's Club. And we started serving dinner every day at 5:30 for free. This is how we worked. Everything worked on who do you know, what can you get, make sure they get thanked, and be good to the community by bringing solid, fun events that also brought awareness of the Oasis.
Wow.
I can't begin to name the hundreds of people that made it happen. Sandy Cole was our state rep at the time. She got us $75,000 from the state. A couple of years later, I compiled a notebook, which is actually at the Historical Center, explaining what we did, and I sent it to the governor, and we won the governor's hometown award that year for our volunteers. They sent a contingency out to tour the Oasis, which was wonderful, and invited us to the dinner in Springfield. We had no idea that we won, only that we were in the running. And Tim Perry was the mayor. He came with us with his wife and a bunch of other people who had worked on the Oasis. And I can tell you that nobody was more surprised than I was when we won, because to me, this was just a lot of people that cared about their community and they were going to make something happen, something good. And truly, Mike Pruitt is the one that took all of our events to the level that was so successful.
Wow. And I don't think that there was an event going on in town, and this is no disrespect to anyone else, but without your name and Mike's name on it, it was hard to find an event that was really going on.
Well, now they all have Mike's name, and very happy to see that they're still going on. And I know Rotary is picking up some of the things that I left behind, which is great. And because of all these hundreds of people and their dedication, we were able to be open for 12 solid years without charge. It was fantastic.
It's amazing. It's unheard of in most communities that people can come together and do something like that to make a big, big difference in somewhere people to go.
People reach out to me still. We want to build something like the Oasis in our town. And I always write back, you need someone that'll work full time without pay, and you need at least $80,000 a year and a free building. And then you might be able to do it.
It sounds easy. Sounds like a great business plan to start.
That was. My office was right across the street, so I spent an even amount of time in my office as the Oasis, and even my staff, my team members, when we would close, we would just all walk across the street and see what needs to be done. Often I would come in, there'd be a couple of police officers playing foosball or Madden with the kids, and it kept the kids out of trouble because they didn't want to let down that officer who would always wave.
Right. It sounds like we really could use something like that right now that's up and running, especially with everything that's going. So what prompted me to call you, because you've been on my list of people that I wanted to talk to. Obviously, we do a Discovering Grayslake podcast. Your name is on the top of people that I need to talk to. So unfortunately, it took seeing the Oasis being, leveled to the ground, to make me go, oh my God, I gotta talk to Joyce. So with that news, like how does that make you feel? Obviously, different emotions.
Well, first, let me tell you why we closed the Oasis, and it'll help you understand how I feel. We used to have 20,000 kids, not all individual 20,000, but a total of 20,000 kids come through the door every year. The last 2 years were under 2,000 kids. The budget, however, had to stay at $80,000 because that's what it costs to run it and pay employees and workman's comp and everything, electric, etc. What happened was cell phones. Prior to kids getting smartphones, they had to interact in person. We had computers. We had gaming systems. We had a place out of the rain or the snow or the heat. So they would come and hang out and play video games or use the computers or sit in the booths and eat something they bought from Tasty Freeze, the freeze. And it gave them all that. But once they had a smartphone in their pocket, they didn't need to leave their bedroom. And I could not in good conscience go out and ask for tax deductible donations when our attendance was down 90%.
Wow.
Made the decision to close it. Is it still needed? Maybe for 5 or 6 kids in the community, yes. But at the cost, it didn't work. So I did make a point of making sure every kid knew about the game store around the corner. Tim, what's his last name? Beckman? Anyway, his gaming store where they do have live gaming. Handed out flyers before we closed, letting kids know about that and knowing about the teen center at the library as well. So how do I feel now that the Oasis is torn down? I feel so good that we gave the community what it needed when it needed, and that we didn't milk the community for money when it wasn't needed.
Hmm.
So being torn down is just going back to the original 2006 downtown business plan.
Right. And you were able to make a difference during that time.
Right.
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 Which is great.
The building was in horrible shape, and it needed so much at this point, even after we rehabbed it, it needed so much to be ADA compliant and pass codes. Even though we were able to have other codes at the time, it was really on the edge. I mean, nothing was really all that great. The roof still leaked, the foundation still leaked. Nobody could really put a business in there successfully without spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, which it would be cheaper to tear it down and start over anyway. So seeing all the posts on Facebook from kids that were in bands that played there on the weekends because we had a professional sound system, kids that hung out there, a lot of them are now parents themselves. And to have them reach out to me to say how sad the building down, it's really good that we did exactly what they needed when they needed it.
Right. And times do change. And, at that time there was a need for that. And now, unfortunately, kids are locked to their rooms and they're on their phones or on their Snapchats or, my kids are guilty of that as well.
Of course, it's what we call progress. And that's what killed the Oasis. But it's not a sad thing to see it go. It's a great thing that it happened.
Wow. Okay, that's my headline for everything. So thank you. That's a very, very, very good way and a very optimistic way to put it as well.
Really how I feel.
Yes. All right, we're going to shift gears here a little bit, and I'm it warms my heart actually to hear you talk about the Oasis. So, I want to hear because you had your state farm. You were there. So tell me about your living in Grayslake. How long were you in Grayslake? How long was your office open there?
My office was there for 33 years. I took over from another State Farm agent who had moved into management. And I didn't really know a whole lot because my education is actually in medicine. I was a PA. I did open heart. I worked with cardiac surgeons. So I was their first assistant. I would open the chest. I would harvest vein from the leg for bypasses. And then when the actual procedure was done, I would close the patient. And that's how that works. So if you go in for surgery, don't think your surgeon is doing it all. So I really didn't have any business training. And Grayslake was very small back then. And the book of business they gave me was tiny. I made $0 at that point. And my manager said, don't worry, the town's going to grow around you. Just wait. And that's exactly what happened. And it was a very wonderful, successful career. And that career allowed me to do all the things that I did. We lived in Grayslake in the preserves. And as the kids moved out, the house got really big. And we started hosting sailors and their families when they would come in for boot camp graduation. A lot of families can't afford to travel to Great Lakes and pay for a hotel for 2 or 3 nights and car rental or whatever it is they have to pay for. So we put the word out there that if you can fly in, we'll pick you up. You can sleep at our house. We'll drive you to graduation. We'll drive you wherever you need to go so you don't miss your sailor's boot camp graduation. And that was because my youngest son had joined the Navy. We did that for years. And then we started hosting bands from Summerfest. There was one in particular that we knew that was going to play. We said, hey, stay with us. And they said, can our friends stay with you? I said, sure. And we eventually set up our house to sleep 14 additional people in very comfortable beds. Over the years, every summer, we were full of musicians. And our backyard was just always a jam session. And it was great because they had a place to do laundry and shower, and they weren't sleeping in the Walmart parking lot. Sometimes my son would stay at the Vine when he would come in on leave. He'd stay there till they closed, and he'd bring everybody back with him at 3 a.m.
Oh, I'm sure you appreciated that a lot.
I got famous for waking up and cooking biscuits and gravy to make them pass out. Or it was a joy. Um, I absolutely love people. I love the chaos that it brings to have that many people in the house. And I have a wonderful husband who's incredibly tolerant of all of my craziness and participated 100% in it. And, yeah, it just hopefully made good memories for a lot of people. And that was my goal.
Wow. And it sounds like you accomplished that, especially with all the people and your kindness of opening your doors to people in need or people just want to have fun.
Well, yeah. Rotary actually gave me a humanitarian award for all of the people in service that we hosted. We also hosted homecomings at the Oasis when sailors would come back in town. We would throw open the doors and have food, and that way, dozens and dozens of people could welcome the soldier or sailor home without destroying their house.
Wow. How awesome is that?
So much fun. The fire department would be our partner in that. They would hang the flag from the boom. I don't know what it's called, the ladder. They'd hang it over Holly Street so that when the returning military member got out of the car, they were right under the flag. It made for great pictures.
Yes. Now, would the military person know that this was happening?
Always a surprise. Patriot Guard, fire departments, police escorts, the whole 9 yards.
Wow, that is amazing, Joyce. That is absolutely amazing. You have the kindest heart.
I'd rather throw a party than do anything else in the world. Well, playing with my grandkids, the exception to that.
Nice. Okay, so you had that office there. Your story is very intriguing to me that you start doing your open heart surgeries and then somehow you just decide State Farm. To me, that's hard to put together.
Okay, so the only other thing I knew how to do was type. And after my second son was born, because of situations in the operating room, I could almost never get to the babysitter to pick my kids up at a decent hour. And my then husband couldn't be bothered. So something had to go, and I couldn't give my kids away, so I had to leave surgery. And the only other thing I knew how to do, like I said, was type. And I had just bought a new car, stopped in at my insurance agent's office and asked, hey, do you guys have any openings? I don't know anything about insurance, but I know how to type. And he said, yeah, actually I do. And he hired me for peanuts. And I made a deal with him. I said, after 3 months, you either pay me this amount, which was exactly half of what I was making in the OR, or fire me. And after 3 months, I went in and I said, so what do you think? He said, well, I need you. I said, well, then we have a deal. And that's how I learned insurance. And then,
Isn't that great? I love. Isn't it funny how life goes when you just have to figure out your way and then things just magically work out?
and then one of the glass salesmen had come in to visit him one day and dropped a phone number on my desk and said, you need to call this person. And I went home and I made the phone call, and it was a State Farm recruiter. And that's how I ended up with State Farm.
Wow. And that location is great too. I mean, it's still it's fantastic.
I didn't even know where Grayslake was. I never heard of it.
Okay, so where were you living at the time?
Wakanda.
You're in Wakanda. All right.
And that's the north I had ever been.
That is hilarious. And then for 30, what'd you say, 33 years?
33 wonderful years.
Wow. All right, now we're switching gears on you again. Okay, so I get to hear these things because I did a little research. So I wanted to find out some fun stuff. So I'm gonna have you tell everybody in Grayslake a story.
About what?
Yeah, I know. You should see the look on her face right now. I love it. That's my favorite line too. Okay, so here's what I got. I'm going to set it up, and then you're gonna tell me because one of my friends said I had to say this. So you're at a bar, supposedly. It gets late at night, and you tell everybody to get a toothbrush or whatever you need because we're going to Vegas.
I was at Jimmy's Char House with my husband. I think it was just the two of us. Um, and I had just gotten out of the hospital and I was drinking a chocolate martini. I was in the hospital for a kidney stone. I was still a little light in the head, drinking a martini for lunch. And in walks two people in hoods and they approach my table and they take their hoods off. And one is a good friend, Ruthie Rubietta, and the other is my son, Scott, who I thought was deployed. And I literally lost my mind. I jumped up. I was sobbing. I was hugging him. The owner came over and said, "What's going on?" And I am blurting out words. My son deployed, surprise, Uzo for everybody. I said, everybody's not 21. Today, everybody's 21. It's been long trouble for this. Brought us Uzo, a whole tray full, and we drank it all. And I looked at him and I said, "Let's go to Vegas. Who do you want to go? Who are you here to see besides us?" And he named two of his friends. I said, "Call them up, tell them to show up at the house with their toothbrush. In 20 minutes, we're going to Vegas." I called American Airlines. There were 5 seats open on a plane in an hour. I booked them. Called the Paris Hotel. They had 1 room, booked it. And an hour later, with our toothbrushes, we were on a plane to Las Vegas.
You are absolutely no fun at all.
It was a blast. We had at midnight the second day because that's the only way you could make it back by 7 a.m. to report in. But the rest of us stayed one more day.
How fun is that? How often did you do spur of the moment stuff like that? And how come we weren't hanging out?
I know why we weren't hanging out because I did that stuff all the time.
That's wonderful. Um, okay, I'm so sorry. The spur of the moment. And you know what a great thing. And you know what? It takes leaders like you to cause trouble.
If you don't enjoy the ride, no matter how much good you do, your life is sad. You have to enjoy the ride.
Well, I'm going to go on record right now saying that more people, especially when you talk about things about the Oasis and all these other things you do and opening your homes to, people that are doing service to our country, we need more people like you that actually care about other human beings to just make the world a better place.
I can tell you a lot of what I've been told why people don't do it. They're afraid of somebody's going to rob them. How do you know they're good people? You know what? We did have things stolen. We were taken advantage of, but that didn't change who we were. And one person out of 20 is not going to ruin the other 19. I didn't care. I really didn't. If you steal something from me, you must need it more than I do. So be it.
Well, that's a very positive outlook.
It's the only way I know how to think. I don't have that other brain cell that causes all that negativity. And I'd still, without hesitation.
Okay, so what are we doing without Joyce Campbell and Grayslake? Like, what are you doing? You're in Arizona. You're retired. Why move to Arizona?
Well, my youngest son and his family, his wife and his daughter and their 2 dogs, had an educational opportunity in Scotland. And with a week's notice, I showed up with a suitcase so they could all fly to Scotland the next day. And I just got back from Scotland, which frankly is probably the most beautiful place I've ever seen. The The air is so clean, the scenery is so beautiful. But what am I doing here? I'm part of a group called Random Acts of Crochet Kindness. And I make little animals and I hide them with little poems in plastic bags wherever I go. And they're just to make people smile. And I spend a lot of time making them. I'm also reading an average of 50 books a year now and really enjoying the fact that I can read long books without worrying about it. And, if it gets too hot, I float in the pool.
Wow, your life sucks really bad. I mean, come on.
It's
It's so good, she says.
so good. And so, which is in Las Vegas. That's where I actually live.
Oh, so you actually live in Las Vegas?
Yes.
Oh, wow. I'm
And
sure you're
um, I'll be back in a couple of days. But yeah, I'm just hanging out here.
awesome. I was looking through some stuff earlier. I'm going to switch gears once again. I saw an article somewhere and I wanted to know more about it because this is more about you giving back to community things. I don't know what the exact name of it was, but I know that it was around it was like a diaper campaign.
Uh,
Tell me
keeping
about.
fam-
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Keeping families covered. It's a nonprofit that provides diapers and period products to people in need.
How do you get involved in this stuff?
Well, you know my adopted daughter, Lalina Magneta, Zoe. I'm
I
sure
do
you
know. Yes.
know. She got involved with the group, which is how I found out about it. And last year she was president of the board. And because of that, I went and I toured their facility in, I don't know if it's North Chicago or Waukegan, but this is the most amazing nonprofit. And they give away over 1 million diapers a year because I'm sure you know people on food assistance, for example, that doesn't cover paper products. And if you can imagine having a child in diapers, but you can't change their diaper because you don't have another one, or you have to change their diaper into a wad of paper towels wrapped up in cloth. Um, there's no reason in this day and age for people to have that level of suffering. So this nonprofit actually has their big event coming up this month called Bottoms Up for Babies. I don't know the exact date, but I know it's on Facebook. And they raise quite a great deal of money there, but also in private donations.
Well,
So,
I want to encourage everybody. I want everybody. I'm going to put a link in the podcast description here that I would love everybody. You know what? If one person out of 10 that are listening to the show can go and donate to that, imagine the difference that we could make.
if we would each just send $5, just $5, that's less than a Starbucks run. That would be incredible.
Cool. I'm going to find that link and I'm going to put it on here and I'm going to challenge them coming from Joyce to everybody donate $5 and let's see what we can do.
It's a wonderful, wonderful organization.
Wow. Okay, so what do you have on your horizon? You're supposedly you're retired, but it seems like all you're doing is working and helping out different things. So what's on the horizon for Joyce Campbell?
How I had time to work. I'm actually I have some company coming to visit me at the end of coming to Grayslake at the end of October for a week because we've never changed our doctors. So we come in twice a year to go to the doctor and hang out for a week. Um, we make sure we go to the Vine every year. And, you know, every time we come in, I try to see at least 2 or 3 people I haven't seen in the last couple of years. But yeah, that's it. And our family keeps growing. They're all over the country. And we've even got an adopted son in Kuwait. When he finished his Navy service, he went over there as a private contractor. I think he's probably been there almost 10 years. And so we've got people all over the globe, and we look forward to seeing them.
Wow, that's fantastic. Um, I want to know this from you. So obviously you were from Wakanda. You come to Grayslake. You spend some time here. You make a big difference in our community. What's a couple of your favorite things about our community that really stand out to you?
That people say hello to each other on the street, whether they know each other or not. If you're, for example, walking to the farmer's market from the parking lot by Whitney Street restaurant, there's always people coming towards you, and they always say hello. And you don't have to know who they are. That's just Grayslake. There's no place like it anywhere where people say hi to each other all the time or get out of each other's way or, you know, are kind.
Yeah, you know what's funny that you say that because sometimes I'm with my children, we're at the grocery store or wherever, and you say hi to a random stranger, and I think through times things have changed because most people's faces are in their phones. But it's funny to hear people like, "Hey, Dad, who is that?" And I'm like, "I have no idea."
Not a clue. Doesn't matter.
Right. And that's a kind of it shouldn't be an old school thing, but I think it's something that I wish younger people would listen to this and listen to your message that's coming out, just to be kind to others, kind to strangers, because you never know what anybody's going through, or maybe your one hello can change their day.
You never want to fail a social experiment. If somebody is standing there with a sign that says free hugs and a blindfold on, you better hug them.
I I think I'm going to take that social experiment. I'm going to do it.
You should. It's interesting. Um, and it's also interesting how many people need to be hugged. When we did a couple of outdoor concerts, Greg Henkin put them together, and we had Louise Harrison, George Harrison's sister, there one year. She was supporting a Beatles cover band called Liverpool Legends, I believe. Anyway, she sat up at a table with a sign, free hugs. And there was a long line of people to hug Louise Harrison. She's George Harrison's sister. The key there was every hug was 60 seconds. The first 10 seconds of a hug mean nothing. By 30 seconds, you're starting to settle in and feel the other person's heartbeat. After 60 seconds, your blood pressure has gone down. She taught me a lot.
Wow. Wow. All
Isn't that
right.
cool?
Oh my God, it's cool. Yeah. Okay, so I think that I'm going to do the social experiment. I think we're going to videotape it to see how many people actually will hold on. And me and my friends call that the uncomfortably long hug because sometimes we just hold on a little bit longer till the person wants to give out.
And that's when you have to continue to hold on.
Right. And you should. With my guy friends, they get a tad bit uncomfortable, so we'll just do it to them. And I'm going to do sponsored by Joyce Campbell, and then we'll have everybody a donation for $1 for a hug, and then we'll buy some diapers.
And if you wait until I'm in town, I promise you a 2-minute hug.
All right, deal done. Can we have a chocolate martini at the Vine while we're doing that?
And now.
I think that's awesome.
I will drink in my own zip code now.
Okay, so was that the reason that you weren't drinking because you didn't want to drink in your own zip code?
Correct, because drinking and driving is a very bad thing when you're an insurance agent.
Pretty much in any situation, but yeah, especially when you're an insurance agent, you're not putting out a good vibe to everyone, right?
Oh, and I really advocated, being a designated driver, and I always sponsored the water at the beer fest.
Yes, I remember that. We're gonna take We're going to take a quick pause here, and I'm going to do something because you listen to the podcast. So we have something called the Grayslake Hot Seat, and this is sponsored by our friends at Barbecue Productions. My good friend Chris over there, love Chris. Okay, so we have a little bit of a lag, so sometimes when I talk, you mute a little bit. So after I answer the question, let's give it like a second, and then I'll have you answer, just so everybody can hear your beautiful answers.
You're on.
All
Put
right.
me in the.
Nice. And once again, folks, anybody listening, make sure you support all of our sponsors, Jody Sinkmars, Randy Cashmore, and Barbecue Productions. So bear with us here. I know the audio quality a little bit is off, so just bear with us. But I really appreciate Joyce on here, so thank you for giving us your attention. So, Joyce, are you ready?
I am so ready.
Perfect. So now we know how long it takes for me to hear you. So it's about 2 seconds. So, okay. Joyce Campbell, Grayslake Hot Seat. Hey, bartender, can I have a...
Chocolate martini.
I don't have to ask you this one. I'm going to change this one. How many awards have you won?
Oh, I had a 1,500 square foot office and not an inch of wall space or shelf space left. So I don't know.
Okay, quit bragging. Everybody else is like, I don't know if I won one. So you're too good of a person. So we're gonna move. We're gonna move on to easier ones for you. Um, what are you the most afraid of, Joyce?
I'm most afraid of one of my kids or grandchildren passing away before I do.
Fair enough. Um, what is your favorite season of the year?
Autumn. Mel.
Does your car have a nickname?
Right now its nickname is Smashed.
I know there's a story in there. How many times do you text a day?
100?
Wow. Okay, I'll text you next time. Name a celebrity that you've met, or the most recent celebrity you've met.
The most recent celebrity I've met. Well, I'm probably just going to have to go with the guys in Chevelle, Sam and Pete Buffler. Um, Not because they're the most recent that I've met, but they're the most deeply that I've met. As far as, you can meet people and shake hands and that's it. They don't know who you are after that. But Sam and Pete I both consider friends.
We need to get them on the show too.
Good luck. They're touring.
Yeah, I know. We'll get them after it or something. Hey, do you have a go-to karaoke song?
Yes, I do. Love Potion number 9.
Highest score in bowling.
Highest score in bowling, 90.
Well, you're awesome. What is your what is your favorite movie of all time?
My favorite what?
Your favorite movie of all time?
Blazing Saddles.
Oh my gosh, that's so appropriate. Do they still play that? Because I'm not sure we can play that whole movie anymore, can we?
It's only 7 minutes long now that they cut out all the good stuff.
Right, it's like a trailer. I'm really impressed by you right now that it's Blazing Saddles. Um,
It's
are you an early bird or are you a night owl?
I am an early bird.
What time?
6.
All right,
That's
that's good. Pool or ocean? I'm sorry. She says pool. I'm sorry. Everything cuts out just a tiny bit. Um, tell me. Well, I always say, tell me about the second time you were arrested, but I'm sure you're arrested way more times than that. So tell me about one time that you were arrested.
well, I was a hippie and I grew up in Cleveland. There was a street called Coventry that we hung out on, and I mean, everybody was there. And they went on a no loitering campaign. So at each end of Coventry was a crosswalk. We formed a giant circle and just kept walking through the crosswalks. and tied up the road for hours, and we all got arrested.
For some reason, I looked at you and I went, "I bet you she's been arrested," but for a good cause, of course.
We kept moving. We didn't think they could arrest us if we weren't standing still, but we were wrong.
Yeah, sometimes they just arrest you just for the fact of arresting you. Okay, what's your favorite candy?
Peanut butter M&Ms.
Okay, here's a hard one. What is your favorite restaurant in Grayslake besides the Vine?
Well, I'm going to go with Barbecued Productions since I'm in the hot seat.
Joyce is so smart and she's so good. You can tell this is why she wins and why her house is full of awards.
Chris did a lot for us and for the Oasis, and I'm very, very grateful for that.
He did. I did not know that. He's
A lot.
another one. He's another one of those guys that gives back. And when we just had him on the show, it was really fun to see, to actually hear all the great things that he's done. And a lot of times it's way behind the scenes. And I think sometimes people, when their generosity comes out, people don't know the intentions of what is actually happening. But with people with really great intentions and know how to help people, they deserve community support, especially for their businesses.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, this is not an easy time in the restaurant industry too. So I think people need to get out and support local as much as they possibly can.
And tip hard.
Amen. Amen to that. You know what? It's one of those things that I think it's a lost art if people don't know. Unless you've been in the service industry, you don't know what that means to someone.
You have to tip hard.
Yes. Have you ever been a waitress or anything like that?
Of course.
Where?
In Cleveland, I was also a bartender at one of the airport bars.
I bet you have some great stories from airport bartending.
Other whole broadcast.
We'll be coming back to Joyce for bartender stories later.
Yes.
Hey, what do you? Oh, so here's an idea I had. I want to run by you that I think would kind of be fun, and people listening, let's see what they think. I think it would be fun to have people submit their craziest, most fun, or whatever Grayslake stories that they have. We can combine them and have people vote for what the craziest story we have for Grayslake.
I think it's a great idea. You could do like a Jimmy Fallon thing.
Amen.
Because he does. Tell us your work, tell us how you got fired, things like that. I think that's a great idea.
Right. And we could get some people in trouble for it too, and people could start some controversy. That would be fun.
Oh, you have to put some distance in time before you tell the stories.
You know what? For some reason, that is experience that's speaking to me.
Yes.
Okay, so how about you tell me your favorite, craziest Grayslake story, since we're there?
Craziest Grayslake story. Well, without getting anybody else in trouble.
Oh, you can do that.
One of my favorite moments that I look back on was when we were demolishing the interior of the Oasis building. And the interior, because it had been the police department, it was all cinder block offices. There were 17 little offices. And we took them all down by hand with sledgehammers. So at one point, I was literally hip deep in smashed concrete block. And I sat down on it and the tears just started rolling down my face because I had no idea what we were going to do now. A whole building full of broken concrete. And Ryan Curtis, who has always been the practical side of everything that I do, said, "Go sit in your office, Joyce. Just go sit in your chair for a while," because he could see how upset I was. And so I did. I went across the street and sat in the office. And about 15 minutes later, the phone rang, and it was Dave Peregrine. And that's a name that used to be on everybody's lips in Grayslake. He's done so much for Grayslake. He's excavated the ball fields in Central Park. He's created soccer fields and ball fields out on Allegheny, just a tremendous man. So about 15 minutes after sitting in my office, he called me. He said, "Hey, I happen to have a bulldozer and a pickup truck tomorrow. Is there anything you need done?" And I told him my problem. He said, "Well, I need to be able to get into the building with the front loader thing." Okay, I'll figure it out. Went back across the street. We made a giant hole into the garage that could be driven through. And the next day from 7 to 7, he and his son came and emptied all of the concrete out and took it to the dump. He volunteered his time. He got the dump truck donated. I imagine he paid the fees at the dump, but he never told me that. And we fixed it by putting in double doors to the garage, which assisted with band load in and load out every weekend, because we would have 5 bands a night. And it ended up being the best thing we ever did. But that was my craziest moment in Grayslake. Not funny, but he swore nobody called him and told him we had a problem, and everybody didn't call him. But yet there he was, problem solved.
Wow. I think this is an example to everyone how you do things with good intentions. You do the right thing, and right when you're at your lowest point, when you're sitting on a bench crying, that all the good energy that you put out, it comes back.
I have to believe in karma, because every single time something happened, something like that happened.
Right. Okay. So I know that we're gonna, for time wise, we're gonna try to wrap up some things. But Joyce, first of all, I really appreciate you being here with me. You've inspired me to do better for our town, and I hope that everybody listening is a little inspired, maybe to do a little something. So, give me some words of encouragement for people that are listening to this, to how to make Grayslake better, what they can get involved in, how they can make a difference. Kind of give me your inspirational spiel here, how people can help.
First of all, I want to thank you and Juan for coming and DJing Car Show.
You're very welcome.
So you need to also be recognized. My words of encouragement: everywhere you look, somebody needs you for something. Maybe it's somebody down the street who can't cut their lawn because they just had back surgery. I play a game with our neighbors here in Phoenix. We race to see who can bring everybody else's garbage cans up first. And we all sit by the window in the morning, and kids included, because they come very early, and the race is on to see who wins that week. Like that make a huge difference to people. You don't have to be wealthy. You don't have to be a business owner, and you don't have to have hours and hours that you can donate. Bring up somebody's garbage can. Go out and get their newspaper, if they still get one, and put it on their front doorstep. I used to do that when I walked our dog. I would pick up every newspaper and move it to the house. There's so many little things that can be done that make somebody's whole day better. And it makes you feel better.
Right. And I think these are the things that you're naming right here. Actually, as you're saying that, it's garbage pickup day here. So they're picking up. So I'm going to go out and move my neighbor's garbage cans in. But as a parent and as a role model to children, I think doing these things, instead of telling our kids, because they don't listen to anything that we say, but, leading by example to show the little random acts of kindness.
We call the garbage can thing trash can bingo. And whoever wins texts everybody else, I won.
I love your spirit. I love your giving. I love your, but and how much better I think that I have a gentleman that I work for And his comment was, you can write as many checks as you want to charities, and there's certain things that, can make you feel good or make you feel better as a person. But actually getting your hands dirty and diving in the trenches to help people is so much more rewarding to the people and to yourself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And everyone knows I'm a volunteer junkie. And it's not because I want to do things for other people. It's because it makes me feel good to do things for other people.
Right. And don't you think there's a complete lack of volunteers? I think 2% of the people in communities or organizations do, 98% of the work.
It's always the same people. Yes.
Right. So how do we change that?
Personal invitation. You put out a sign-up sheet and nobody signs up. But if you go up to people and say, hey, I really need you for a couple of hours. Is there any way you can give me a couple hours on one of these days? And when you talk to people face to face, people feel like they matter. And so they're more likely to say yes.
Right. And I don't think people these days enough, because of our technology and the way that people live their lives, I don't believe that they think they're seen so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Call them if you don't want to be face to face. Maybe you have bad breath that day. Make a phone call then.
Right. And mine must be pretty bad because you noticed it over Zoom.
Well, I have coffee breath, so I wouldn't even.
Which is funny. So I'm going to announce this now too. So the Discovering Grayslake podcast, what we're going to do in the next couple of weeks here is we're going to announce that we are doing a food drive for a homeless shelter, and I'm going to ask all of Grayslake to come around. And I feel like this is a great opportunity to announce it. But what we're going to do is set up some stations for people to drop off food, and we're going to try to serve some underprivileged, because everybody deserves food, especially in people that live in food deserts, or it's just a right that people have. So I'm going to ask the community to gather around and help me bring something to it. And Joyce, you've completely inspired me.
This is the time that food pantries are at their lowest because everyone has drives around Thanksgiving, and the post office has a drive in May. And right now they are all hurting. So I'm going to volunteer Ryan Curtis's office as a pickup spot. He's used to being voluntold, so that one's easy.
All right, so call Ryan for me.
Drop off spot.
All right, I appreciate that. And there's enough big members in our community, and it's not even the people that are going to do drop off spots, but it's going to be the everyday person. And we're not going to base it around an event. I'm going to put it in everybody's hands to bring us stuff, whether it's at the farmer's market or anything, a football game, or anything that we can get the community to circle around and let's do some good.
I love it.
All right. And I'm going to do it for you. It's going to be the Joyce Campbell Foundation that we're going to do it for.
And you know what? I'm in favor of canned spam. The thing they never get is canned meat.
And everybody loves canned meat, right?
Oh, you fry it long enough and put enough ketchup on, it's not so bad.
Well, you are fantastic. I cannot thank you enough for your time, especially because I know that you were sick coming back from trip, and you've done very well. We thought we were going to be coughing the whole time, but we didn't. But hey, I appreciate you, and especially as a Grayslake resident my entire life, I've seen the difference you made in the community. I've seen that the relationship you've made. I've seen you inspire other people to be better, to do better. So I really appreciate you, and I appreciate you being on here. And I'm sure people that have been listening today, that you inspired to be better and do better too.
I appreciate that you chose me. It's quite an honor. Thank you.
Oh my God, I chose you. You're like the gleaming one that I have to have. When I saw the Oasis go down, I was thinking that you were going to be sad about it, but of course, your positivity shines through again.
We did it. It was great. I'm glad people are unhappy it came down. That means we did well.
Well, thank you so much for taking time with me today, Joyce. I really appreciate it.
Doing it, Dave.
My pleasure. And folks, if you are on wherever your favorite listening podcast platform is on, make sure that you subscribe so every week that you get to know someone else from Grayslake, because it's so important. And as Joyce and I were talking about too, that we need to make sure that we support local businesses. We need to tip hard. We need to go and make sure to take care of everyone in this town. So subscribe, support the people that are on here, support our sponsors, because you know what? We have a great town, and it can just get better by all pulling together.
This was so much fun.
Thank you. All right. No
Wonderful
problem.
weekend.
Yes, you have a great weekend too, and thank you everyone. And we'll be seeing you every Tuesday, so make sure to tune in every Tuesday. And Joyce Campbell, just everybody write a little comment on here so Joyce can follow along and check everything out too. So, all right, have a great day, honey.
Thank you.